Hey YouTube family, Stars of a Star, aka Tracy. I know it's been a little bit since I did an update, but I wanted to jump on while I had a few minutes and go ahead and get this update made. Currently today, as of today, Friday, I am 34 weeks. I have been in the hospital. So let me go ahead and I'll let you guys know what happened. So, because I don't want to make this a really long video. Saturday morning when we woke up, I got up about 6:37. I noticed I was kind of, cramping, having a few contractions, and I just went on with my day. I figured, chalked them up to Braxton Hicks, and just went on with our day. Around about 6:30, by 6:30 that evening, the contractions had gotten really painful. They were really, really close together, and I had tried laying down and things like that. And prior to that, all that week, I had been really having like real bad muscle spasms in my calf muscles, and I was calling my husband because he was working out of town, and I was telling him, I really don't know what's going on. I got real bad cramps in my calf muscles and things like that, and it was like I was drinking constantly and was never ever satisfied. It was like I was just constantly thirsty, and it was the same way on Saturday. Just never, I was constantly down in waters, juice, Gatorade, Powerade, whatever I could get my hands on. I was just really, really thirsty. So that last time I told my husband, I complained, and he was like, let's go, and I'm not one to sit around, I know when it's time to go to the doctor and when it's time not to go, and it was definitely time to go at this point. So I called labor and delivery, and I talked to the nurse, and she said, well, have you been drinking water? And I told her, yeah, I'm drinking. She said, did you try laying down, switching sides, or laying on your left side? And I told her, yeah. And I said, well, I'm really having a lot of pressure, and at this point, I think they were like 5 minutes apart. She was like, you know what, go ahead and come in and let us hook you up to the monitor. If it's nothing, we'll let you go home. But I really would feel better if you just came in and let us look at you. So we went in, and by the time we got there, they were like right on top of each other, 2 minutes apart. They were really getting really, really painful. I couldn't stand. I couldn't sit. I mean, it was just, I was miserable. They got us hooked up to the monitor. Sure enough, we were in labor, preterm labor. We then had to get an IV. They were drawing labs. Ended up being put on the magnesium sulfate, which is to stop your labor because nothing else that they were doing was working. So we had no choice but to go on the magnesium, which I wasn't happy about having to go on the magnesium. But we had to go on that. My doctor was actually out of town for the weekend, so the on-call doctor, his partner was who was treating me. And like I said, all of this started Saturday, so excuse me. Saturday evening, by 8 I was admitted into labor and delivery. And it was just a really long process. And because I had to have the magnesium, meant that they had to put a catheter in, which meant I had to stay in the bed, which I have a ruptured disc in my back. And when I'm not active, that disc has a tendency to get aggravated and will lock up. And sure enough, that's what happened. Went in Saturday. By Tuesday, I was just literally in tears because I was in so much pain with my back. They were still trying to get the contractions under control. They had got them spaced out to where they were like 15-20 minutes apart, so the magnesium was working. But by then my back was just really, I mean, they walked into the room and I would just literally be crying, and the nurses, were like, we feel so bad because we don't know, what else to do to try to help you. So that was like Tuesday. My doctor made it back late Monday night, so he came by Tuesday. Monday night, we ended up having to stop the magnesium, because I was so swollen, and I'm still so swollen. It's just ridiculous. My legs are like 2 to 3 times their normal size. I can't even get in pants. My feet won't even fit in a house shoe. I'm so swollen. And it's because, laying flat on your bed from Saturday to, I think at this point it was like Tuesday morning, and on that magnesium, and they were constantly pumping fluids into me because I was severely dehydrated. I don't have a clue how that happened, because I was constantly drinking, and the doctor was like, that's why you were drinking, and never, your mouth was dry, and it just seemed like you were never getting enough because you were dehydrated. So Tuesday morning when my doctor came, we had stopped the magnesium Monday night, because my hand had gotten so swollen. It was like 3 times its normal size. And I told the nurse that night, I said, I think my hand is starting to swell and it looks a little red. And she was like, oh, no, it's okay. 2 hours later, she came in and she almost had a heart attack. I mean, my hand had ballooned, and what had happened was, because I was on Demerol and Phenergan also, treating the pain. Phenergan burns out your veins. So what happened was, they had actually blown my vein. They blew the vein, and they just weren't listening to me. I don't know if they weren't paying attention, whatever. But the vein was blown, and all of the fluids were then, instead of going into my vein, they were seeping into my tissue, which caused my hand to swell. I don't know if you guys can see it. I've had to take off my rings, my wedding rings. Everything has had to go. The swelling is just now starting to go down. My doctor worked out a regimen where I would be taking some pain medicine and also another medication that's a pain medication, but it also works to calm down the uterus, to try to keep the contractions at bay. At this point, I asked them, what's the game plan, because they were true contractions. They weren't Braxton Hicks. I was actually in labor. And he said because it was so early, he wanted to put off labor as long as possible. His goal was to get me past 35 weeks, and then we'll see how it goes from there. But the goal is 35 weeks. So I'm 34 weeks today. They let me come home Wednesday. So I was in the hospital from Saturday to Wednesday. I got out Wednesday, and basically it's a bed rest type situation. Let me see my time. Okay, it's almost 9 minutes, so I'm going to have to do a part 2. So be right back. It's not stopping.